earlier, today also following the same process. So at first, let's know some lines about uh, the writer. Murder in the Cathedral is a verse drama. So it's a verse drama. So you have to know what is verse drama. Verse drama, in any drama written significantly in verse, that is in quite poetic endings, usually and rhyming with the another, means that is with line endings to be performed by an actor before the audience. So line endings in verse form. So this present discussion is a verse drama by Eliot, first performed in 1935, that portrays the assassination, means murder of someone, of a very famous person, murder of a very famous person, portrays means the assassination of Archbishop Thomas Becket, a very influential and also very famous person. So that's portrayed the assassination of Archbishop Thomas Becket in Canterbury Cathedral during the reign of Henry II. In 1170, Eliot drew heavily on the writing of Edward Grimm, a clerk who was an eyewitness to the extent. Again, just repeating the same because these lines are very important. So, the present discussion is a verse drama by Eliot, first performed in 1935, that portrays the assassination of Archbishop Thomas Becket in Canterbury Cathedral. At the setting during the reign of Henry II, reign means rule of Henry II in 1170. Eliot drew heavily on the writing of Edward Grimm, a clerk who was an eyewitness to this event, the murder that took place by someone, and it has been witnessed by that man, that Edward Grimm, were contemporary of Eliot. So now, analysis of T.S. Eliot's Murder in the Cathedral. Murder in the Cathedral. You know cathedral? Cathedral means that's the main church of a district. The main church of a district under the care of a bishop. Bishop means a priest of a high rank. Cathedral means the main church of a district under the care of a bishop. So bishop means a priest of a high rank, noble rank. So that Murder in the Cathedral is often called Eliot's first play. But technically, it wasn't even his second. But before we address this, let's take a closer look at the play itself. Murder in the Cathedral is probably Eliot's best known play and is only completed work of historical drama. So it happens to be the writer's best known play and is only completed work of historical drama. Eliot himself later summarized the plot of Murder in the Cathedral as being about a man coming home, forcing that he will be killed before being killed. So nevertheless, the success of the play is in how Eliot sets up this inevitable conclusion and stages the central figure of Thomas Becket. So a slightly more detailed summary may help before we offer a critical analysis. So unless until we just dive into the deep, we can't get pulses and gems. Means we have to know at least entering into the lines. So then, as usual, I've been doing from the very beginning. As earlier I've been doing. So the points to be discussed in a nutshell, because we must be in touch with some important points. As these points are very, very inevitable and also necessary for all of you, because time is short, topics are, discussions are many. So within this short span to cover up all this is important. So only we must have a clear-cut idea about some important points in short, means in 4 to 5 lines. So that will be touch with everything that is incorporated in the present delineation. So then why is modern in the cathedral is a modern drama? It's called a modern drama. In figurative sense, figurative means metaphorical sense or poetic, not poetic sense or a metaphorical sense. In figurative sense, the play is modern as it shows two powers struggling for supremacy, for getting the topmost position. In our country, there is a constant fight for power. Nowadays, she might be witnessing that. So, if the party is in power, so the opposition just are all the time in a loggerhead, go on fighting each other, tries to find out their faults, or and oddities, lacunas. Even if it is a fact based on truth, still then they try to take it in an otherwise. They try to take it otherwise, means take it in a wrong way, blaming others, blaming the ruling party. So the same situation also here happens, that in our country there is a constant fight for power between the Republicans and the Democrats. Each side believes, as did Henry II and Becket, that they are in the right. Paranoia abounds, as is the case with Beckett's lists. So now, what kind of drama that present story, that murder in cathedral, what kind of drama? As earlier you knew, so it's a verse drama. So it is a verse drama. So you have to know what the meaning of verse drama. Verse drama is only drama written significantly in verse. That is with line endings to be performed by an actor before an audience. Although verse drama doesn't need to be primarily in verse, to be considered verse drama, significant portions of the play should be in verse to quality. Means ending in uh, line endings. That is in poetic endings. Just like the first line rhyming with the second. So why did T.S. Eliot write Modern Cathedral? When Eliot wrote this play, because all these are the points. Why is modern cathedral is a modern drama? Then what kind of drama is that present discussion is the verse drama? Then analysis of T.S. Eliot that in 10 to 11 lines. Then why did T.S. Eliot write modern in the cathedral? For the reason of writing, when Eliot wrote this play, Europe was wrote this play. Europe was dealing with the growing tension. Means it was passing through the growing tension brought about by fascism. The play talks about the conflict between duty and conscience. Remember, these two things that are very, very important feature of this play. Duty and conscience. This play revolves around these two features. That one is duty and conscience. Thomas Becket was appointed by King Henry II. Thomas Becket was appointed by Thomas Becket is a character. So later on we will come to know who is that person. He's a very important character and also hero of the play. So Thomas Becket is appointed by King II as the Archbishop. And now you know the meaning of Archbishop. Archbishop means that is a bishop of the highest rank. Bishop means a priest of highest rank. And Archbishop means Archbishop. Archbishop means that a bishop of the highest rank, responsible for all churches in a large area. So many churches are there. So that man takes the entire responsibility or risk of the churches. So the Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the Church of England. The Archbishop of Canterbury means the head of the Church of England. Bishop, you know, bishop means a senior priest in charge of the work. Many priests are there, so who happens to be the most senior one? Senior priest in charge of the work. So Archbishop, that is the highest rank among all the uh, uh, workers working in the church. So that is appointed by King Henry II as the Archbishop of Canterbury, so he could help quell the growing opposition. Just he could pacify means lessen the growing opposition to the reign. Means during the reign of Henry II, some disturbances or commotion was going on. Dissimilarities and disparities were going on. So to pacify all these dissensions, disparities, so that man tried his best uh, only for doing that, only for pacifying or pacification. So what is that is the topic itself entitled Murder in Cathedral. So what does this word signify or refer to? Cathedral. A cathedral is a church that contains the cathedra, Latin for seat. Because Latin word, its meaning is seat of a bishop. So means where the bishop, the head of the church, takes his rest, on which, thus serving as the central church of diocese or conference. That's the meaning of cathedral. Well, so now the list of the that's characterization, the list of some characters. So a lot of characters are there. So only we must be in touch with some important ones in 2 to 3 lines. As earlier we have been doing also today to follow the same, because these are the most important discussions, presentations during this short span. If we just only go on discussing Act 1, it will take a lot of time taking. And Act 2 also it's time taking. We can't just present all these important points. So rather just know a little about all this, rather a lot about all these important points, because it will help you at the hour of your need. So now, list of characters. List of characters. So the very first and foremost character of the present setup is Thomas Becket. Thomas Becket. So is also known as the hero of the play. Thomas Becket is also known as the hero of the play. He is known as the hero of the play. Becket is the Archbishop of Canterbury and former Chancellor of England. That character is the Archbishop, Archbishop of Canterbury, and former Chancellor of England. Historically, he stood up against Henry II's demands. He is appointed by Henry II. That Thomas Becket is appointed by Henry II as the Archbishop of Canterbury, so he could help quell the growing opposition to this reign. Because that time many people are opposing or going against Archbishop. So that man tried to pacify all using his ability and capacity. So that is historically he stood up against Henry II's demands that the church subsume means include or absorb something in something else. Subsumed means included or absorbed something in the something else. That the church subsumed its authority, means included its authority or absorbed its authority to Henry's secular power. Henry's secular power, and ultimately died for the cause. Ultimately died for the cause. In the play, he is represented as an overly proud and sanctimonious. Who? That character. That character is represented as an overly, as an is overly means very excessively, too or very excessively. This character is represented as an very excessively or too excessively proud and sanctimonious. Sanctimonious means giving the impression that you feel you are more moral than other people. Self-righteousness means once he was very or excessively proud and a self-righteous person who nevertheless transcends his weakness to accept martyrdom as God's will. Today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, man has to die. Man is mortal. No one is in this world, this cosmic world is immortal. Still, that character never accepts this, never bows down his head before the prescriptions prescribed by God. So that's these lines are enough about this character, because had we discussed the character sketch of Thomas Becket, then we would have presented a lot more than 2 to 3 pages. But only some important lines about some important characters, just to know what do they do, how do they like, and how do they exemplify, in which ways, with whom, everything, in short. Then after, chorus. Another character. Chorus of modern cathedral comprises the women of Canterbury. Women of Canterbury, poor, common and plain. These women have lived a difficult but manageable life. So that the women of Canterbury, consisting of some women. So they are very poor, common, and plain, residing in Canterbury. These women have lived a difficult but manageable life since Thomas was sent into exile even 7 years before the play begins. Thomas remained in the jail for some years because of the uh, voice of the opposition. But so very poor, common and plain, and also they lived a very difficult but manageable life. Very difficult, but it was manageable. Because you might have seen that some people are very poor, not poor, but poorest in poors, the most downtrodden people. They run here and there having nothing, but whenever people see and us, they never show that we have lost everything. Rather, we have everything, and we are managing our family at any cost. Okay, so they never try to bring it to the limelight, their sufferings, their difficulties, and everything, whatever they have. Sure, but manageable life since Thomas was sent into exile 7 years before the play begins. Before the play begins, Thomas was sent into the custody of the police. So stayed there for 7 years. So these are the reasons for which they led a very poor life, manageable life, and rest life also very miserable. So these are the lines about that or the Yeoman chorus. Then Herald, a messenger. So now you knew two, Thomas Becket, then chorus. They comprise the women of Canterbury, comprising the women of Canterbury. Okay, Canterbury. They reside in. So they reside there. Very poor, very common, but suffer a lot. Then Herald, a messenger who brings word that Thomas Becket has returned to England during or after the 7 years uh, imprisonment, again come back. So messenger who brings word that Thomas Becket has returned to England and will soon arrive in Canterbury. Very soon he has already released from the bail or custody of the police, and very soon also reaching here, where at Canterbury. So that message is brought by that character Herald, a message. So he acts as a messenger about to Thomas' arrival in Canterbury. He has a premonition. He has a premonition. Premonition means a feeling that something is going to happen. Premonition means a feeling that something is going to happen. So he has a premonition that Thomas' return presages violence. Thomas' return presages violence. Presage means be a sign or working uh, or warning up. Be a sign or warning up. An imminent event, typically in unwelcome. Premonition that Thomas' return presages violence means it's the sign of violence, or that is encouraging violence, or whatever any type of untoward situations occurring, he's at the back, giving support and everything. So now about the priests. Now the priests. So we come across three priests here. First priest, second priest, third priest. So three priests. Three priests. So what is the role of the first priest? A nameless priest. First priest is termed as a nameless priest of Canterbury, characterized by his excessive mournfulness and worry. All the time remains in a state of sorrowful mood. Always looks moody. Always looks moody. He continually sees the situation of Bucket's return as one that can bring trouble for his people. So, what is his version? But he just opines, he speaks that Beckett is coming very soon. Already he has come. Now, very soon reaching Canterbury. Canterbury. So, if he comes, then he's again going to uh, do some sort of bad things, bad activities, or raise his voice against the ordinary people. So he continually sees the situation of Beckett's return as one that can bring trouble for his people and their country. Not only for the adjacent areas, but also the country also. Almost all will suffer a lot at his arrival. Then second priest. Second priest. A nameless priest. Also he is a nameless priest of Canterbury, characterized by his pragmatism. Pragmatism means a pragmatic attitude or feeling. Pragmatic means dealing with things sensibly and realistically. Dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical. So means much more stress is to be given on practical rather than theoretical. Theoretical. So that is called pragmatic. So pragmatism means a pragmatic attitude or feeling. Means practical attitude or feeling. That is characterized by his pragmatic attitude. Means pragmatism. He examines Beckett's return based on its political ramifications, means political branches. He examines Beckett's return, means the examines means here examines means he just thinks a lot, ponders over this matter, ponders over this matter. So he ponders over this matter or examines Beckett's return based on its political ramifications and notes how Beckett's clash with Henry II reflects issues of land ownership and power rather than spiritual dominion. Means control. Dominion means control or supremacy rather than spiritual control or supremacy. So that's all about second. Now, just coming third priest means coming to discuss about third priest. Third priest. So now you knew this character Thomas Becket, chorus, herald, first priest, second priest. So now third priest because here we come across three priests. Also a nameless priest of Canterbury, characterized by his patience. Means the symbol of he's a very patient figure, patient and uh, very good. Whereas the other priest worry about how Beckett's return will change their lives. Other two previous priests, first priest and second priest, they worry about the Beckett's arrival or return will change their lives. They feel that if Beckett is coming or returning to Canterbury again, so a drastic change is going to happen. A drastic change will happen. But the previous two priests suppose or speculate, but this man is completely devoid of that. He never thinks that. The other priest worry, but he never does that. The third priest suggests that as no human can understand the way the universe works, so should they remain patient, not impatient, and allow God to work His will upon the world. The third priest perhaps works in a horizontally, means he has a optimistic outlook, not pessimistic, just like the previous priest. Pessimistic means those who uh, uh, optimism. One who always sees the bright side of life, and pessimism one who always sees the dark sides of life. So these two priests always see the dark sides of life, or rather, the third one uh, is in favor of bright side of life. So the third one speaks that. So you never go on pondering over a particular matter, what may be, uh, may it be good or bad, but you uh, just have belief in God. You have belief and in God, because God is uh, the omniscient, omnipotent, and also omnipresent. So, uh, so these are lines about third temple. Then, sorry, that is third priest. So now you knew about three priests: first priest, second priest, and third priest. So now about first temple. Also here we come across fourth tempter. Sorry, tempter. So here come across four tempters. So let's know some lines about the first tempter. The first man to tempt Thomas identifies himself as Old Tom. The first tempter tempts Thomas, identifies himself as Old Tom. He is a friend from Beckett's early carefree days. So from the very kindergarten days, so there has been friendship uh, with him. So he is a friend from Beckett's early carefree days, and he attempts Thomas with the possibility of relinquishing his responsibilities in favor of a more libertine. He also offers worldly pleasures to Beckett, because a very near and dear and confident one of Beckett, who first tempter, then second tempter. Some lines about second tempter. The second man to tempt Thomas, the second man to tempt Thomas identifies himself as a political ally from Thomas' days as chancellor. Whenever Thomas at first became the chancellor, so during the reign of Thomas, uh, that person is very well known to uh, him. I mean, he knows him very well from that very uh, initial periods. So he tempts Thomas to resume his role as chancellor. Means continue keeping that post. Means to continue his career. He tempted Thomas to continue his career as chancellor, never to retreat or come back, arguing that Thomas could do more good for the poor through secular power than ever could as a priest. I mean, now just he compares, the second tempter compares Thomas with others. He has a belief, strong belief, that Thomas can bring a lot of changes in the poor people. He has that type of intuition or introspection. So he only can do everything. So now means he speaks in favor of Thomas Becket. So now third temper, tempter. So also you see three priests are there, first priest, second priest, third priest, and four tempters are there. First tempter, second tempter. So now coming third tempter, Thomas doesn't know the third tempter, who identifies himself as a simple baron. Simple baron. Baron is a character. Baron is a character. So that is simple. Uh, just wait. That is the third tempter. Doesn't know the third temper. Thomas doesn't know the third temper, who identifies himself as a simple uh, figure. He tempts Thomas with the possibility of ruling the country via a coalition that would split central between that would split uh, the contract between the nominal ruler and the barons. He offers the support of a faction wishing to overthrow the throne. Baron means a chemical element. So now fourth tempter. Fourth tempter. Now to discuss about fourth tempter. The fourth tempter is unexpected. Using several arguments, he tempts Thomas with the possibility of quoting martyrdom. Quoting means be involved with someone romantically, with the initiation of a marriage. Be involved with someone romantically means intending to fix up the marriage with her. So that is the fourth temper is unexpected. Using subtle arguments, He attempts Thomas with the possibility of quoting martyrdom for the sake of his reputation and glory. His temptation is powerful because it touches on something. He offers martyrdom and eternal glory. That means the suffering or death of a martyr, a person who suffers very much because of his illness. So, what you see here, he offers martyrdom and eternal glory. Beckett denies all the tempters because here all the tempters tempt Beckett in different ways. But Samuel Beckett never accepts, rather denies the all. So now the fourth, the first night. So three priests, you have to come across three priests, four tempters, and four knights also. Four knights also. So first night, though none of the four knights is particularly individualized before Beckett's murder, the first knight gives his name as Reginald. Knight gives his name as Reginald. Feet or afterwards, when he addresses the audience, he claims he is not a man of eloquence and so mostly serve as a narrator during the night's speech. Then second night, the second is introduced as William D. Trust. So now, when the knights come one after another and addresses, they just tell their name in different ways, just in the course of addressing. So the second is introduced as William D. Tans afterward. He presents an emotional argument asking for pity on the grounds that though the knights committed murder, they were disinterested and merely did what was necessary for the English people as ordered by their king. So the second knight here just puts forth his opinion in this way that actually we had no interest to murder, or we had not attempted murder. That our superior personality, that our boss ordered us, the king ruled that time, ordered us. So we, being guided by, governed by his opinion or direction, we did that work. Then third night. The third night reiterates to the audience that they were a disinterested party who did not benefit by Beckett's murder. His name is Baron William. So the name of the third knight is Baron William. So third knight speaks that actually we don't have an intention. We have not done that work deliberately. Being guided and governed by, we compelled and impelled to do that murder. So his name is Baron William. So now comes fourth knight in this way. Henry Edward, oh, needless to say all this, was time taking. So now to go through, that is the because it is divided into two parts, part one and part two. That present that present poetic poetic drama is of two parts, divided into two parts, part one and part two. Part one and part two. So this present poetic drama is of two types. Part one. So in part one we come across some happenings, activities, and also in part two. It's a very long discussion. So just only I am presenting for you some important lines in short. So the play begins in the Archbishop's Hall of Canterbury Cathedral. Part one. Part one. Some that the easiest lines. The play begins in the Archbishop's Hall of Canterbury Cathedral. The members of the chorus, the members of the chorus means consisting of some women of Canterbury. Chorus means consisting of some members of Canterbury. The members of the chorus made up of common women of Canterbury. So they are the poor common ordinary women of Canterbury. Who? The chorus are the first to speak. So they are given the first chance to speak when the play just comes to the limelight or is presented. So they are given the first chance, opportunity to speak something. They say that who? The chorus. The chorus here say that it has been several years since Thomas Becket has left them. It has been several years. Already several years have been passed since Thomas Becket has left them, and that despite his kindness as a spiritual leader, it would be best that he not return. He shouldn't return again, come back. The chorus speak. He shouldn't come back. Again, if he is coming, again some riots, commotion, and untoward situations are going to happen among uh, people, different types of people belonging to different caste, creed, and religion. So that is, he shouldn't return what the chorus speak because they have been given the first chance to deliver. Though they do not explain why, they never put forth the reason before saying that. Okay, they shouldn't return. So what is the reason of not returning? What is the commit? Did he commit any type of heinous sins? Or foul? Did he resort to any type of foul means? Unfair means? No, nothing. So why? So they never gave the reply. Only just raised their voice. Means he shouldn't return. Becket should not return. Though they didn't explain why. The chorus says that they have suffered since he has left. The chorus speak that they have suffered, means this chorus means the Canterbury poor innocent women. So they speak that we have suffered a lot since she left, but they are nonetheless content if they are left alone. Ultimately, the chorus conveys a sense of powerlessness as they say that they expect some malady. Malady means that is a disease. Malady means a disease or ailment. Disease or ailment. The chorus conveys a sense of powerlessness as they say that they expect some disease or ailment fall upon them. Hello? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So they can only wait in anticipation. But you see, you just wait because to watch and wait is the first and foremost statement of one and all. So we have to watch and what's happening in the near future, in the long run. As we have no power, no ability, and no capacity, so God is there to execute everything. So we just only acts as a mere puppet in the hands of this ruthless character. So uh, the chorus conveys a sense of powerlessness as they say that they expect some malady fall upon them. They can only wait in anticipation since destiny is controlled by God. As destiny is controlled by God, so we can't act as an obstacle in God's destiny. Sure, and the poor folk of Canterbury, they have no power to change their lives through the world of politics and commerce. As they are very poor, very illiterate, do not know ABC in English, so lagging behind everything, so they can't do anything. So we can exercise our power over them. As God is there to us, everything, so and over everything in Him. Then after the chorus opening monologue, three priests enter. First priest, second priest, and also third priest. So now, just I'm discussing with you part one of this poetic drama or verse drama, because that present discussion is in verse drama or poetic drama. So that after the chorus opening monologue, three priests enter the scene and discuss a discuss a feud, mean untoward situation which occurred between Archbishop Becket and the king. Archbishop Becket and the king. Sometime, sometimes ago, before Becket's departure, after the priest belief brief discussion, after the priest's discussion, because now the three priests appear on the stage and also they are given some time to speak, to deliver their lecture about their own experiences. So, after their brief discussion, Herald enters. Herald means, you know, the messenger. As earlier I discussed, when messenger, he just brings the message that very soon Becket is coming and returning where? That is Canterbury. Returning Canterbury. So brings that message. So just after that brief discussion, means after the brief discussion of the three priests, Herald enters the scene and announces that Becket, the Archbishop, is in England, already reached England, and very soon entering the threshold of that Canterbury. So the first priest asks whether the feud between Becket and the king, the dissensions between the Becket and king, has been resolved or not, whether Becket comes in war or in peace. The herald replies by saying that, means the messenger replies because now the messenger has brought this message. The messenger has put for this message that very soon Beckett is coming. Now arrived in London and very soon reaching at our habitat. Means that Canterbury. So Beckett's return, even though it may seem cheerful, who the herald replies. So Beckett's return, even though it may seem cheerful and potentially peaceful at first, is really just the beginning of the more turmoil, the priest response to the herald's message. Okay, so the herald speaks. Okay, we are not at all worried and vexed, or terrified or horrified at the arrival of Beckett, but in latter it may pose a lot of trouble. So this was the message given by Herald just in the opening scene of the Act 2. Then many lines are there because if you just go on discussing on the particular, so time taking, we can also to the other points. Right? That is part one. Part one. So that is that I completed part two. Sorry, part one. So now part two. The opening scene in part two reveals the persistent pessimism. Pessimism means that side of the activity.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Okay. Good evening. Good evening.
Sir, when class started?
Class started.
Yes, sir.
That's our class.
Yes, sir.
Started at 8.
सर MEG 8 नहीं है.
क्या?
Yeah, started at 8 o'clock.
Class. CLASS or CLSS?
CLA double S. Sir, it is MEG 2 class.
Yes. MEG 2. MEG 2 British drama. MEG 2 block 7. Today's discussion is about block 7 and tomorrow to conclude. Tomorrow we
Yes,
have
sir.
to just conclude. That is block 8.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. That life is meaningless, life is hectic, life is vague, life is unproductive, everything that they just take note of or give their opinion about life in these ways. So the opening speech in part 2 revolves the persistent pessimism. They reflect on how the peace of the world is always uncertain because because man defiles this world. Man corrupts. Defiles means corrupts this world. Man is the first corrupt, not corrupted, first corrupt person. We are the most corrupt. We introduce everything, starting from top to bottom, lower to higher. So we are the root of means as money the root of all evils. So we the bipeds are the root of all evils. So because man defiles this world, ironically, they find peace in the harshness of winter. Just that the flora and fauna of nature is presented, described in part 1, flora and fauna of nature. That is, they find in the harshness of winter because that harshness cleanses the world of the violence that comes with the warmth of spring. The warmth corresponds to human passion, which they professed to reject in part one. Part one. You see, in part one they rejected. No, no, no. Warmth cannot bring solace and peace uh, in men. But here in part two, they accept or take it granted. Since passion brings with it hope and greater dissatisfaction. Okay, so let's to go to because some important questions are also there. Some important questions are also there about uh, because it's a discuss the present discussion as a poetic drama. Poetic drama. So we have to know some features or characteristics of poetic drama and characteristics of a poetic drama in modern in the cathedral, everything, and also imagery is used by Eliot in this present play in the modern in the cathedral. Imagery used by Eliot in this play, modern in the cathedral, is the second question, and third question. um, that is the okay imageries. So these are the two important questions, and it's in modern drama everything. So 3 to 4 questions are important questions that coming in this discussion. But no time is there. Then how to discuss everything? Had I discussed, I would have just touched some important lines. But no time is there. So we are getting it very soon, just after the end of all the volumes or parts. Uh, the important questions of all the that is units starting from 1 to 8 are blocks. So now needless to discuss a lot about all this because time is knocking at the door. So next class we're again discussing at the last block or last unit of British drama, block 2. And what is the last block? Last block,
The
look back in anger. Yes or no?
no, no, sir. What about the block 9? You said that you will talk to them.
No, no, no. You see, so the very first block again, just recap of the last discussion, blockwise recap of the last discussion. First is Dr. Faustus, then Midsummer Night's Dream, that on the very second day, then third day Hamlet, then Alchemist, then Playboy, then Pygmalion, then today's discussion, Murder in the Cathedral, and tomorrow to be taught, that is Look Back in Anger.
And sir, what about waiting for Godot?
Because no class is assigned for that topic. No class is it assigned. Eight eight periods. You see, 8 periods are there. You go through your that presentations that has been sent to you in your mobile phones. Uh, 8 periods are there, and you have to divide 8 topics for these 8 periods. So from the very beginning, that the first period till tomorrow, so 8 classes are going to be completed tomorrow. Look back in anger, but you should never look back in anger. Rather, all the time, from the very dawn to the dusk, from the very approaching of the night, evening, from that's from the very daybreak till the approaching of the evening, we have to always look back in Jolly and jubilation, not the title itself, look back in anger. Well, so now pass on to our discussion. Topic is look back in anger. So, what is the reason or what might be the reason why someone or somebody looks back in anger? Well, so as earlier we have been discussing, today also we have to follow the same pattern or same process because time is short and the exact timing that's 9 again we have to join in another class. So we shouldn't delay because delay is dangerous. So as soon as possible to start and within this we have to wind it up. So now just listen. Look back in anger uh, describes the story of an angry young man who wants his wife. So it's this story is told about an angry young man who wants his wife and the world to feel the same what he has felt. H-U-R-T hurt. He wants to punish those who have had the fortune of not having experienced the pain he has had in life. That angry young man has undergone a lot of hardships and difficulties. So he wants to punish those who have had the fortune of not having experienced the pains or the pain he has had in life. Throughout the play, we see a theme of philosophy, misogyny, and hatred towards women. So here, this play is divided into three acts: Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So in almost all the acts, we come across the theme of philosophy and misogyny. Misogyny means a man who hates women, or hatred or wrath, WRATH, towards women. So now, what is the message of look back in anger? What is the message of look back in anger in 3 to 4 lines? Because everything that we have to deal with in 4 to 5 lines. Because dealing with everything in detail is impossible as we are not able. So I have to make you full. So only what's possible that we will try and present it before you as able. So what is the message of look back in anger? Look back in anger is the archetypal play. Archetypal play means a very typical of a certain kind of person or thing. Archetypal means a very typical of a certain kind of person or thing. So this play is the uh, archetypal of the play of the angry young man movement in British theatre, which was marked by working class authors writing plays about their disillusionment with the British society. In Osborne's play, the present playwright, that is John Osborne, in Osborne's play, we see this in Jimmy's sense of political emptiness. How the men hate the women, uh, how the women belonging to upper class society just fail to establish a good rapport with the men, and taking that into account, the men also express the resentment against them. So now, what is the most important theme in Look Back in Anger? What is the most important theme in Look Back in Anger? alienation is an important. Alienation means isolation or detachment. Alienation means isolation or detachment. Means detachment is an important theme in John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. Now I'm just dealing with what is the most important theme in Look Back in Anger. Detachment or isolation is an important theme in John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. Jimmy Potter, Jimmy Potter, the main character of uh, the play, exemplifies or typifies, typifies means to be a typical example of something. Typifies means to be a typical example of something. So Jimmy Potter, the main character of the play, typifies means exemplifies the overeducated, underemployed worker. There is no doubt in that. Undoubtedly and unquestionably, we can speak that he has got a lot of education, but not got any job, and just earning money, resorting to other activities. So, undoubtedly, he is an over-educated, underemployed worker. He lives in an attic flat. Attic flat means a room or a space just below the roof of a house, after used for storing things, where we just keep our unnecessary articles stored for a long time. That is attic house, a room or a space just below the roof of a house. You might have seen that available in your house also. So, in who that Jimmy Potter lives in an attic flat with his wife, Alison, and his business partner, Cliff Lewis. So not only he leads a single life, he also accompanied the two, that is Allison and his business partner, Cliff Lewis, with whom he runs a candy stall, sweet stall, in an outdoor market. That's the most important theme in Look Back in Anger. Means here, the man is highly educated but underemployed, and makes up his mind to open a business, means a sweet stall, taking the help of the two, that his wife and his another man, very most confident and bosom friend, that is Cliff Lewis. So now, what the meaning of the title Look Back in Anger? What is the meaning of the title Look Back in Anger? Now you just knew that's at the very outset some important lines of Look Back in Anger. Means the features. So then what is the message of Look Back in Anger? Then what is the most important theme in Look Back in Anger? So now to know what is the meaning of the title Look Back in Anger. The title of Osborne's play Look Back in Anger highlights both the extreme anger of play's protagonist. So here, Jimmy happens to be the protagonist of the play, of this story. So that is the title of the playwright's Look Back in Anger highlights both the extreme anger of play's protagonist Jimmy Potter. Extreme anger means his anger knows no bounds. Whenever he expresses his wrath and anger and dissatisfaction or resentment upon others, so he goes beyond the limit, crosses the limit, and starts scolding perhaps on whom he expresses his anger. So that Jimmy Potter and his tendency to focus on the past rather than living in the present or looking ahead to the future. I can just listen. Uh, The title of the Osborne's play, Look Back in Anger, highlights both the extreme anger of play's protagonist, Jimmy, and his tendency to focus on the past rather than living in the present or looking ahead to the future. So now, that is why does the author name this play Look Back in Anger? Why does the author name this play Look Back in Anger? When the Royal Court Theatre's press agent described the play's 26-year-old John Osborne as an angry young man, the name was extended to all his contemporaries who expressed regret, who expressed rage, who expressed rage at the persistence of class distinctions, because that time class disparities was going on. That if someone belongs to a very high caste or belonging to a very low caste, so dissensions were there, disparities were there, uh, difference of opinions were there. Everything was existing or prevalent that time. So taking that into consideration, so that Osborne as an angry young man, the name was extended to all his contemporaries who expressed rage at the persistence of class distinctions, pride in their lower class mannerisms, and dislike for anything so now that is the characterization or the list of characters. You knew some important lines in nutshell, the message, or that is the most important theme, or the meaning of the title, why did the author name this play Look Back in Anger, everything in short. So now to know, that is the characters, the list of characters that we come across in the present play. List of characters that we come across in the present play. The So see, the very first and foremost character, that we come across in the present play is Jimmy Potter. Jimmy Jimmy Potter. That the protagonist. He is also known as the protagonist of the play. So Jimmy, the angry young man of the play. Angry young man of the play. Usually found spouting tirades against the complacency of the British upper class, and especially against his wife and then his lover Helena. Jimmy is one of the main characters of the present play. He is married to Alison Potter, a very smart young man from a working class background. Jimmy is well educated, but has ultimately settled into running a sweet stall to support his family, because at any cost, after the completion of the education, if one is not getting any job, so automatically he or she has to incline towards business and open any type of business in order to in order to support his family and just to get a handful of rice. Compulsory. Sure. Also, the same case here also happens. The same thing also here happens in case of her. Sorry, in case of him, that has ultimately settled into running a stall to support his family. He is keenly aware of class dynamics. He is keenly or intensely interested or completely plunged in class dynamics, and particularly the socio-economic difference between his family and Allison's. Socio-economic difference between his family and Allison. Later will just know. Later will know what type of socio-economic differences are going to be exhibited uh, between that is his family and Allison's. So these are the lines about Jimmy Potter, the protagonist of the play, and that very angry young person. Then Allison Potter, Jimmy Potter and Allison Potter, a woman from an upper class background. Jimmy a very middle class, and that woman belongs to a very upper class background, and Jimmy's wife, and also Jimmy's wife. Later on, married to Jimmy. At first fell in love, then married. She is drawn to Jimmy's energy. She is drawn to Jimmy's energy, but also exhausted by their constant fighting. No doubt a very good one, but all the time, if differences in opinion will arise or will appear, so nobody will lead a happy life, satisfactory life. So all the time, fighting arose between them, or they're involving in some sort of untoward situations all the time, every day. That's why exhausted and tired and boring also. But also exhausted by their constant fighting. All the time remain busy in some sort of untoward situations, means quarreling or that raising their voice on some other topics, unwanted topics. So in these ways, they are leading their life. Jimmy accuses her of being too complacent. Too complacent. Complacent means that a feeling of satisfaction with yourself or with a situation. Unsatisfied. Though born and brought up in an upper class situation or family, that's why all the time contented and satisfied of whatever he had. So Jimmy accuses her, means blames her of being too complacent and lacking enthusiasm and interest. Though Alison Potter had everything, had possessed everything, because born and brought up in a very high class family, higher class family. Sure, but all the time remaining busy in some sort of fights with her husband and lacking enthusiasm and interest. So that is all about Alison. Then Helena Charles. So now you knew Jimmy, Alison. Jimmy is the protagonist, Alison is the wife of Jimmy, and then Helena Charles, Alison's upper class friend. Helena Charles is known as Alison's upper class friend. Means he is Alison's best friend. Helena Charles. Helena Charles is Alison's best friend. She lives with them in their apartment. That means she lives with Jimmy and Alison. Who? Helena Charles resides with Jimmy and Alison in their apartment. Because as Helena Charles is Alison's best friend, that is why after their marriage, means after the marriage of Jimmy and Porter, so also she stayed with uh, them in their apartment while visiting for work. While visiting for work means while staying with them, but just doing her own job or accomplishing her own jobs. She is from an upper class family. And while staying in play and ends up having an affair with Jimmy after Alison leaves him. Whenever Alison left Jimmy, also he left that apartment. Then Colonel Redfern, another character. So now you knew about Helena Charles, Alison's best friend, and also upper class friend, and staying with them, Jimmy and Helena. And after some time also vacates their apartment and leaves. Then Colonel Redfern, Alison's father. Colonel Redfern is Alison's father. Means Alison's father. A former colonel. Colonel means the rank of officer in the army, in the US Air Force. Colonel means a rank of officer in the army in the US Air Force, termed as colonel. So, Helena Charles, sorry, Colonel Redfern, Alison's father, a former colonel in the British Army, stationed in the English colony of India. British Army, but stationed in the English colony of India. In India, some English personnel were residing, so Alison's father was staying in that colony. When India still was a colony of England, he is gentle and kindly, but also brought up to command respect. Colonel Redfern, Alison's father, is a colonel of a British Army, but he is very gentle and kindly, but also brought up to command respect. Means all the time perhaps demanding, show me respect, give me respect. Okay, so he demanded respect from everyone. Then Helena Charles, sorry, then Hog Tanner. So now you knew about four characters: Jimmy, Alison, Helena, Colonel Redfern, and the fifth character, Hog Tanner. Jimmy's friend. Jimmy's friend. Helena is Charles' friend. Sorry, Helena is Alison's friend. Helena is Alison's friend, and this person, Hog, is Jimmy's friend, who took Alison and Jimmy, into his apartment. Hog is Jimmy's friend, and who took Alison and Jimmy into his apartment in the first month of their marriage. In the first months of their marriage. Perhaps they are unable to just afford the family just to bear the expenses. So for that reason, so as is their best friend, as Jimmy's best friend, so decided to keep them with him, means in his apartment. He was Jimmy's partner when they went on raids against Alison's upper class friends at the Jimmy parties. He was Jimmy's partner. Means that you know from the very beginning, Jimmy had opened a sweet stall. So that man perhaps helped him in opening that shop. Means perhaps helped him or gave him some money, perhaps. From financial standpoint, that man helped him a lot. So he was Jimmy's partner uh, when they went on raids against Alison's upper class friends at fancy parties. Because Alison belonged to a very upper class family and he had many upper class friends also. As earlier you knew about that Helena Charles, Alison's upper class friend, best friend, but upper class friend belonging to this upper class society also. So many friends were there in these ways. So they might be just accomplishing some foul means of method of getting something or foul methods of getting something. So they just a raid against went on doing a raid against Alison's upper class friends uh, at fancy parties. A party was going on, a fancy party was going on. So some Alison's friends were there. So it was the duty of Hawk Tanner to just raid them or to raid their possessions, whatever they had. So how did they bring it? How did they bring it? Whether in very fair or foul means, in these ways. Then Mrs. Tanner, the mother of Hawk Tanner, called Hawk's mom, Mrs. Tanner, that is Hawk Tanner's mother. The mother of Hawk Tanner called mom by Jimmy. Jimmy calls Mrs. Tanner as mom, and Mrs. Tanner is the mother of Hawk Tanner. She helped set Jimmy up with his sweet stall. She also perhaps gave some money to Jimmy to open the sweet stall. Jimmy loves her, and Alison thinks this is just because she is lower class. And Alison thinks this is just because she is lower class. Then some minor characters. They are the major. Now just uh, presenting some minor characters. Webster. Webster, the only one of Alison's friends. Webster is the only one of Alison's friends. Alison, you know. Alison, who is Alison? That Alison is Jimmy's wife, belonging to an upper class society, or born and brought up in an upper class background. So Jimmy's wife also. So Webster is the only one of Alison's friends that Jimmy thinks has any value. The only one of Alison's friends that Jimmy thinks has any value. Webster plays the banjo, and is able to talk in Jimmy's dialect. He knows the language of Jimmy. Jimmy believes that Webster is a gay. So now, Madeline, Madeline, Jimmy's first love. Madeline is Jimmy's first love. A woman 10 years older than he is. He sees her as an example of enthusiasm that Alison lacks. At the first love of Jimmy had a lot of enthusiasm, interest, zeal, and zest. But the present lover, that is Alison, is lacking all these qualities. Is dividing up all these qualities. What Jimmy feels. What Jimmy feels. So now, Nigel. Nigel. Allison's brother, that character is Allison's brother, a politician. Jimmy considers him just about as vague as you can get without actually being invisible. Allison wishes that she could have reached out to Nigel during the difficult first months of her marriage. Means Allison thinks that as Nigel, Allison's brother, is a politician, means might be endowed with a lot of riches. No doubt, because a politician means a very wealthy and rich person. So taking that into account, Allison thought that after their marriage, both should go and stay there. Means stay with his brother, because he would have been affectionate and loving to her. Because that Allison's brother is very affectionate as well as loving also. That is why, because of these good qualities, so Allison had made up his mind to go there after their wedding. Then Allison's last character, that is Allison's mother. Allison's mother strongly disapproved of Jimmy's and Allison's marriage. You just listen, remember this. She was going against their marriage. She was not in favor of their marriage. Who? Allison's mother. Allison's mother was not in favor of the marriage of the two. Means the marriage between Jimmy and Allison. And went to great lengths to prevent it. Means just stood as an obstacle in their marriage, in negotiating their marriage. She did this out of a protective love for Allison. However, Colonel Redfern, you know about Colonel Redfern? Who is Colonel Redfern? Allison's father. Colonel Redfern is Allison's father. Allison's mother went against their marriage, wasn't in favor of their marriage. But Colonel Redfern says that he thinks his wife went too far in her action. Said that he thinks his wife went too far in her action. Means perhaps her wife is trying to take many strong measures against their marriage. Taking many strong measures. Completely taking a negative outlook, not a positive. He doesn't have any positivity, rather negativity. Always speaks no, no, no. I am not in favor of negotiating or fixing of your marriage. So that's why I'm going to take different types of untoward situations, unfair means of how not making it successful, or how to make it successful, how not to make it successful. So that is all about to Allison's mother. Then Miss Dury, that the last character. The couple's landlord. Allison is worried that she will evict them. The couple's landlord, that means the owner of the house. Because after the marriage of marriage of whom? Marriage of Jimmy and Allison, they decided to live in a apartment. So they were staying in their apartment. That is Miss Dury's apartment. The couple's landlord, Allison, is worried that she will evict them. Evict them means expel them. It means remove them. Evict means expel somebody from a property, especially with the support of the law. Taking the help of the law to expel somebody from a property. means to take away somebody's property. Uh, means here to remove. The very simple meaning is remove. So Alison is worried that she will evict, means that owner of the land apartment, landlord, will evict them for being too rowdy, while Jimmy considers her a thief. Rowdy, because that Miss Dury perhaps is not a very good woman. Sure. And Jimmy also thinks that landlord of that apartment as a thief. So that's all about the delineation of the characters. So now to know that is the act. It's of three acts. It is divided into three acts: Act One, Act Two, and Act Three. So now to discuss that is Act One in nutshell, in short. Then after Act Two, and if time permits, then Act Three. The story. So Act Scene, that is actual. Uh, uh, in the beginning, we meet Jimmy Potter uh, with his wife Alison and their friend Cliff. They share a rented flat in a small Midland town. Uh, because after their marriage, they decided to stay in an apartment, so they just rented a flat and just shared their money among Jimmy Potter and his friend Cliff. The play begins on a Sunday afternoon in spring season. The play begins in a Sunday begins on a that Sunday afternoon in spring season. The play, however, represents no signs of spring. Actually, it is the spring season, but no signs of spring was there. The play, there are no flowers, trees, and blue skies traditionally associated with spring. Usually, we come across these signs in the spring season. The flora and fauna of nature seems very pleasant and eye-catching, heart-touching in spring season, but we do not get all these qualities of the flora and fauna of nature in that spring. Instead, the atmosphere is gloomy. I mean, in its place, the atmosphere is completely dismal and hazy because we do not get all these qualities of the spring that we usually come across in that season. It suggests a morbid fear of confined places. Morbid means uh, as if fate has completely turned a ruthless. towards this creature or towards this creation. In such an atmosphere, morbid or dismal weather, in such an moody state or dismal weather or bad atmosphere, boredom and dull weather combine to create a dull, melancholy and oppressive mood. When the play opens, Alison is found ironing. When the play opens, on a Sunday April, Jimmy and Cliff are reading the Sunday paper while Alison is ironing in a corner of the room. Because now both the three persons are staying and also sharing the rent. Now three persons are just residing in one apartment and sharing the rent. So the play opens and when the play opens, Jimmy and Cliff are reading the Sunday papers while Alison is ironing in a corner of the room. As you know that Jimmy is a hot-tempered young man. Jimmy is a hot-tempered young man and he begins to try and provoke both Cliff and Alison all the time. As you know that Alison belongs to an upper class society and taking some other things into account, he always just expresses her anger and wrath over the two. Or two means over Cliff and Alison as they were staying with Jimmy. So from their conversation, we come to know that Jimmy Potter has been educated not in an ancient university like Oxford or Cambridge, but in a new university. Though educated, but not getting a handful of rice, that's why resorted to opening shops in order to run his family or support his family. So, whenever Jimmy didn't get any job after being highly educated, so what did he decide? He decided to earn his living by running a sweet stall, a sweet stall. So, he is helped in his business by Cliff, business partner. So, Cliff was his, as you knew, Cliff was his business partner. Cliff was Jimmy's business partner. So he helped Jimmy, perhaps in form of giving some money or assisting in any ways. So, as was his business partner, so helped Jimmy, who didn't have any university education. Cliff didn't have any of his wife Alison belonging to a higher class, higher social class. There appears to be great personal hostility between the two. As you know that if qualities are mismatching, if it is not matching, if, if qualities are not matching between the husband and the wife, so automatically it gives rise to different types of resentment and dissensions or disparities or difference in their opinions. At last, all the time they remain busy in some sort of quarrels or they fall out in some sort of quarrels and at last resort to suicide. Now it is happening. You might have heard also in the newspaper. So, as one belongs to a high class and thus another at the former, suppose you now talk about the two words or think of the two words, former and latter. Jimmy and that is Alison. Jimmy is the former and Alison is the latter because former always stands opposite to latter. So Jimmy belongs to a middle class and that is Alison belongs to upper class. So because of that only They are not a bad good terms all the time. So they are very bad terms. Means they are opposite to each other in their dealings as well as adjustment also. So there appears to be great personal hostility between the two. Clip acts as a buffer between them. I mean, sometimes clip just propagates them, or that is also called uh, encourages them to be involved in these activities. The hostility gets his presence. The long monologue, the long monologue, monologue means a long speech by one person. Monologue means a long speech by one person during a conversation that stops other people from speaking or expressing an opinion. So here what happening that Jimmy goes on speaking or goes on scolding or expressing her resentment over the two, and never just gives an opportunity to speak them, or gives an opportunity to let them speak. So from his side, he goes on speaking and scolding or abusing the two, Cliff and his wife. The long monologues unveil the complexity of his character. These monologues show the basic insecurity behind his outward hostility. Though the abuses of Jimmy seem to be directed against the attitude and ideas of his time, yet Alison and Cliff know they are the targets of his attack. Because all the time you see, staying alone, sorry, staying in a family, if all the time you become unhappy and you are always seen in a very that is moody state or sad state, so it is a very bad sign. It is not a very good sign. So all the time Jimmy was in that state, means moody state, and for that only he was expressing his anger and wrath over the two. Means it was not his good quality, it was his bad quality. It resembles his bad quality. So that still they have a lot of affection. Though Jimmy didn't like them all the time, that speak ill of them, sorry, spoke ill of them, or develop some sort of evil attention, a dual attention towards them. Still, these two, who Alison and Clip, liked him, means showed a lot of affection towards him. Jimmy abuses Alison and Clip for their lethargy and lack of involvement. The climax is this abuse is a long speech with a demand of an enthusiasm and sense of involvement. Jimmy's abuses to Alison's family, not only he was abusing Alison, just listen to me, it's very important. Not only Jimmy was abusing or scolding or speaking ill against Alison, rather against his family. And this reveals the deep class divisions, and this reveals the deep class divisions of contemporary English society. This gives them to the class divisions of contemporary English society. This shows Jimmy's sense of inability to find a place in society with which he can have a sense of belonging. So Jimmy's regret at this incident shows his love for Alison, his real love for Alison, but his love isn't enough. Actually, Jimmy's loved him, but all the time scolding him, disrespecting her, scolding her, using harsh words out of anger and wrath. But inwardly, he had some love and affection towards her. But it wasn't enough. That love and affection wasn't enough. It was limited and unlimited. Well, so this is all about, because many lines are there. Uh, because Act 1, Scene 1, Act 1, Scene 2, Act 1, Scene 3, in these ways, you just go on discussing, time taking, and boring also. So now Act 2. Act 2 and Scene 1. In the entire Act 1, Scene 1, everything, in short. Act 2 takes place 2 weeks later. Act 2 takes place 2 weeks later, just after Act 1. Alison, Cliff, and Helena are now living together. In Act 2, whom do we come across? We come across these characters: Jimmy, Alison, Cliff, and Helena. Jimmy, Alison, and Cliff and Helena. So it's a tense situation, and Helena and Jimmy relate repeatedly disturbed them. Repeatedly disturbed whom? Disturbed Jimmy. Helena convinces Alison that she needs to go back home to her parents. Helena convinces Alison that she needs to go back home to her parents. Alison does so while Jimmy is away visiting a friend's mother while dying. When Jimmy returns, and Helena gets in a fight, she remains busy in a fight. Helena tells him about the baby. He tells her he doesn't care. At the end of the fight, they have sex, and Helena takes Alison's place. So her passion here seems to have moved her with a maternal feeling of love, sympathy, and emotions. In Act 2 also we come across that the arrival of Alison's father, Colonel Redfern, as earlier you knew about that person. The arrival of Alison's father, Colonel, he has come to take her home. Whom? Alison. Colonel is the father of Alison, and also he has come in that act to take him to her home. Their conversation shows that Colonel Redfern has a thorough understanding of the situation. He understands their problems very clearly and very thoroughly. So taking that into account, our father has taken a firm decision or resolution to take her daughter with him. She has a sense of similarity with his daughter. He could never stand up to his wife. who Alison's wife raised her voice. She never liked the negotiation of their marriage, but it was his father who tempted and also prompted and encouraged them to be involved in some sort of marriage negotiations. Okay, so it's time to again just have to attend the second class of Tapas sir. You might be waiting, so I have to disturb you all. So now it's time to join in the next class. Again, we have to meet, take the next, that is
Sir, MEG 5.
MEG 5, MEG 5. Sorry, I forgot. MEG 5. MEG 5. So that day again we have to meet each other and discuss everything accordingly. Okay, so don't be so worried and sorry. Rather have be with Cherry and Mary, and after the end of all the classes, I will provide you. But already from the very beginning, I have vowed for you all. Okay, I promise to give you help you everything. But not now. After the completion of everything, so I will give you everything, whatever you demand and whatever you need. Till then, goodbye. So you will just go and join the next class. Because sir might be waiting you. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.